What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? It's Dan here from Cryo Noir. We are on week 15 of the devlog. That's week 555. Yeah, 3 fives. Me and Josh have been talking in the past about where we're going to go with this game. We didn't want it to be a run and gun kind of game, like sort of Gunstar Heroes or Metal Slugs or something like that. We wanted it to be sort of more platform orientated with shooting rather than just mostly shooting. We'd kind of put off having guns and actually building the guns for the game. We've just been sort of working on the platforming and getting all that lot, so we were happy with it. And then the random generational levels. And it was getting to the stage now, I think, where we needed to start adding some guns. So that's what I did. We wanted to keep the aesthetic of the weapons kind of not really based in reality, not really based kind of on real weapons. They wanted to all be a little bit cartoony and a little bit silly. So the first one that I've designed looked kind of like a Nerf laser gun, shall we say. And yeah, I got that all designed and got it into the game. The first problem is that the character has no arms, and the idea there is that the character moves around and does things, and then we animate the weapon and the arms individually, so that way we can just chop in and out weapons. So you would have, like, you know, if you pick up a new weapon, we're not having to create a whole new sprite, a whole new set of animations for the character. We're just creating a new weapon, and it will delete the old one and replace it with the new one. Works perfectly fine. It's a very good system. So we got the character in, I got a new weapon in, and first step is obviously to make it follow the existing sprite and carry on. Wherever he goes, it follows and it goes along. Got that in, got that working perfectly fine. It flips and rotates when the character sprite rotates, and it's, you know, whenever he jumps, it jumps with him. And then it was time to start firing a projectile. So the first problem was it just created the projectile at the character's head height and just would stay there and not do anything, which is fine. That's okay. It's not really ideal, but at least it's creating it. And that was a good way for me to test how many objects you can get on the screen at any one time, and it would appear a lot. So I played around with that for a little while, having fun with that, as you do when you build a game with a bug in it. So then the next thing was making them fire. Actually out of the gun and go in a direction. That took a lot of work, actually, surprisingly enough, because it always wanted to go in one direction and it wouldn't fire in the opposite direction when the character rotated. Fixed that fairly straightforward, but started to come into some other issues. I wanted the cannon to be a bit like a kind of an energy grenade launcher. So it would sort of fire a projectile out, it would be affected by gravity, it would then fall down to the ground and then bounce a couple of times and then explode. Or it would hit the wall and bounce off the wall and keep going, and then explode. So the first part of that is to get it bouncing. So I put in the bounce mechanic, and that did not go well. It basically just bounced off all the walls continuously, and wasn't affected by gravity, even though I'd kind of thought I'd programmed that in, but I hadn't. But that was, and again, that was great fun, with them bouncing around all over the place. I wanted to try and get Game Maker to crash my computer, just because of the amount of objects that were running. The closest, I got it down to 6 frames a second, which I thought was quite impressive. There's a lot of objects bouncing around the place for it to grind down to that level. So I did that. I then started playing around with the gravity to try and get the gravity to pull the object down. And yes, that didn't go particularly well either. It got it so that it would go forwards, but then it just sort of seemed to kind of slowly drop down, rather than kind of have like an arc to it. So I think I would have needed to have played around with that a bit more. But it was doing that, and then it was going, and when it hit the ground, it would then just sink through the ground, which was interesting. And then when it came out the roof of the next level, it would then just start going again, which was really quite cool. I thought that looked really funny. It was not quite what we had in mind. But anyway, so I did that, and then I was like, right, okay, so this is obviously not working. And then I kind of ran out of time for that day, so I got it all so it just fired regularly, and I managed to get it so that it would just fire and they would hit things and explode, they wouldn't bounce, and then that would be that. And then just parcelled it up, sent it off to Josh, said, right, this is as much as I've I've made progress with it. Have a look at the weapon. What do you think? And where do we go? And you have a tinker around with it. So I did, and then he sent it back to me, and it has now got a kind of a variant on the angle at which it fires. So it kind of fires slightly up, slightly down every time we fire, which looks really, really cool. And gives it a rare of sort of randomness about it, which is very good. And he also added a destruction sprite so that when it hits the wall, and it kind of flashes and goes away. So that's a fully working gun. I'm quite happy with how that's come out. So the next night I thought, okay, well I'll try and design a new one. So I came up with a really cool idea, which will be kind of like a black hole gun, and you would run around with the gun and it would generate a black hole and hold it in sort of animating suspension in front of the gun, and everywhere you went it would be there, and then you would fire it and it kind of projectile it would then send that black hole off in a direction and then generate another one, and when that black hole hit things it would suck things in and they would die. So I designed it, and that took quite a while. That took an awful lot of the night. The big problem I had with it was I wanted it to look like the black hole was spinning and was a real thing. The problem is that the black hole, due to the size of the game sprites and the assets, was only about 7 pixels high. It's quite hard to get a lot of detail on a 7 pixel high, an object like that, So it was quite difficult to make it look like a black hole, and I fear it's kind of come out a little bit like a bowling ball. But it's there, it does move, it does kind of look like it's rotating, and it's animated that it bounces, it kind of moves up and down. And when you fire it, it goes out and it spins while it's firing, which is okay, so that's fine. I did that. There's a major problem with that is that it also has I duplicated over the mechanics from the previous gun, and that because the gun kind of sort of aims slightly up, slightly down with every shot, basically a lot of your rounds won't go off if you're on the ground level, because the black hole is spinning and going up and down. Every so often it kind of touches the ground, and if you fire when it's even anywhere near that, it just doesn't go anywhere. So you have to kind of be stood on an edge and then it'll fire. There's lots of work to go with that, but it's kind of a work in progress and it's kind of being done. So yeah, Josh is now playing with that as we speak, I would imagine. So that's good. That's on its way. I will have another look at that probably tomorrow night. Once I've had a chat with Josh and see where he is with it, what he's been able to do, what he hasn't been able to do. So yeah, I'll either have a look at that either tomorrow night or the night after, but yeah, it's all going good. So we now have some weapons in the game as well. We just need some enemies and some interactables and health and a fail state, and there's still lots to go, but we are moving forwards. Everything's growing great guns. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this devlog. It was only a little short one this week. As always, we are moving forwards, but there are other things coming on the channel. There is work behind the scenes, there is thought process, there is things happening, and so yeah, stick with us. Everything's going great, and I shall see you very soon. Thank you very much. Cheerio now. Bye bye.